Hello. For anyone who's joining in, please let me know if you can hear me. Because this is our trial run of StreamYard. We don't know if the server works the way we want it to or what's going on with it. So do let me know. Hello. Just let me know if you can hear me so that we may begin with the session. If you guys can just help me figure out if my audio is all right and everything is fine. All right. Thank you, Sheikh. Sheikh Rumi and Abdul Jabbar Afridi. So the session that we will have today is called Corona Times, Can Online Education Work? It's a conversation with Mr. Pervez Hoodboy, but before we begin with that, a couple of tips and a conversation I would like to have with all of you is that this is the first pilot live stream session we are doing. So there might be a few glitches, there might be a few errors, but please bear with us. We're working through it so that we can provide you with better programs and much more interactive sessions than before. So a little about this program is that a little while ago, Mr. Pervez Hoodboy posted another article in Dawn, and it was titled HEC Seize the Corona Moment. It is surrounding on the topic of online education, how education has now streamlined towards virtual platforms, learning systems, and the likes. But there's still a huge discrepancy and a huge disparity between the students who are actually learning, the instructors who are teaching, and the conversation goes on. We sent him a few questions to which he shared his video response with us. He will be joining us shortly. So we're still very new to this, and he's on the way of learning as well. So he will be joining us shortly. But before that, there's a clip that we would like to play for you guys, which was his video response. That is the initiator of the conversation as well. Should you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will put the link of the story down below as well for you guys, so that you guys can read it at the time when we're done live streaming, and you would like to have a look at what we are actually going to have a conversation about. So the link has been posted. You can view it, and you can see what the conversation is going to flow on. What we're teaching by this program, Ehtaram, is that it was a program that most of us wanted to have, but it's also a program that gets us to know how online education is being delivered, is being managed currently, and what course of action can be taken in the future for it. That's what we aim to discuss today with Mr. Pervez Hoodboy. My fan is causing a disturbance. I will just switch that on. Please just give me a minute to do that, and I will just do that. I hope that's better for most of you. All right. So without further ado, we would like to begin the session. The video will be played just about now. Sorry, but most of the applications here, due to limitations, only work with a few tabs. So I will just play it in my Google Drive for you guys. Let me know if you can listen to the audio of the file. He will be joining in shortly. Let me know if you guys can listen to the audio of the file.
सब कुछ कोविड इस्लामाबाद से तमाम दोस्तों साथियों को सलाम आदाब नमस्कार सब कुछ। कोविड की बला हर तरफ फैली हुई है, स्कूल कॉलेज बंद हैं और अब हर तरफ ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन की बात हो रही है। तो मैंने कुछ वक्त पहले इस शनिचर को एक मजमून लिखा था डॉन में, जिसके बाद कुछ थोड़ी सी हलचल मची है। तो T2F से शुमाइला ने मुझे कुछ सवाल भेजे हैं जिनका मैं मुख्तसर जवाब देता हूं, उसके बाद आपके साथ रूबरू बात होगी इस मसले के ऊपर। तो एक सवाल उनका, पहला सवाल ये था, तो मैं इसका थोड़ा सा पहले पस मंजर बता देता हूं। मैंने उस मजमून में, डॉन के मजमून में ये कहा कि अब हमें पता नहीं कि क्लासरूम के अंदर کیا پڑھایا جاتا تھا پہلے. بہت سے ایسے ٹیچرز ہوتے تھے جو برائے نام ٹیچر ہیں, پڑھاتے کچھ بھی نہیں ہے, آتا جاتا کچھ بھی نہیں ہے, تنخواہ دار ہیں. اب وہی لوگ اب آن لائن پڑھانے لگیں گے تو اس کا انجام کیا ہوگا؟ ویسے بھی ہمیں پتا ہے کہ پاکستان کا تعلیمی نظام تباہ حال ہے, دنیا کے پست ترین بدترین نظاموں میں سے ایک ہے یا شاید سر فہرست ہے. تو اب جب کہ یہ آن لائن ایڈوکیشن شروع ہوئی ہے تو اس میں ہوگا کیا؟ بہت سے سوالات ہیں. پہلا سوال میں شمائلہ کا پڑھ لیتا ہوں. انہوں نے کہا کہ your proposed way out seems to be a central online repository. However, given the problems with our existing pool of varied instructors, teaching facilities, etc., how do you propose the regulation and maintenance of this online portal should be? اچھا, تو میری تجویز یہ تھی کہ جو کچھ پڑھایا جاتا ہے کسی یونیورسٹی میں, کالج میں تو اب تک شاید شروع نہیں ہوا ہے ماں سوائے چندے کے, لیکن جہاں جہاں یونیورسٹیوں میں کلاسیں ہو رہی ہیں, آن لائن ہو رہی ہیں, اور ہمیں نہیں پتا کہ ان کے اندر کیا پڑھایا جا رہا ہے, تو میری تجویز یہ تھی کہ ہر یونیورسٹی کے اوپر یہ لازم ہونا چاہیے کہ وہ اس کی ریکارڈنگ کرے, اس کو ایک جگہ پر اس کا ایک ذخیرہ بنائے, ایک ریپوزیٹری بنائے. تو مثال کے طور پہ اگر میں کوئی کورس پڑھاتا ہوں, اصل میں 2 کورسز پڑھاتا ہوں, تو میرے نام کے ساتھ ایک فولڈر ہو, اس فولڈر پر کوئی بھی جا سکے, یونیورسٹی کا اسٹوڈنٹ ہو یا باہر کا اسٹوڈنٹ ہو, اور دیکھے کہ میں نے اب تک کیا کچھ پڑھایا ہے, جو ویڈیوز میں نے بنائی ہیں, جو میں نے اسائنمنٹس دی ہیں, جو کتابیں اس کے لیے رکھی گئی ہیں سلیبس کے طور پر, جو آرٹیکلز وغیرہ, جو کچھ بھی ہے, جو بھی تعلیمی نظام ہے, وہ اس فولڈر کے اندر ڈالا جائے تاکہ کوئی اسٹوڈنٹ بس وہ کلک کرے اور اسے پتہ چل جائے کہ اس ہفتے یہ پڑھایا گیا, اس ہفتے وہ پڑھایا گیا. تو یہ اول تو اس یونیورسٹی کی ذمہ داری بنتی ہے, لیکن اگر ذمہ داری وہ یونیورسٹی پوری نہ کرے تو پھر کیا؟ یہاں میری تجویز یہ تھی کہ HEC ہائر ایڈوکیشن کمیشن آخر کس لیے بنا ہے؟ تعلیم کے معیار کو برقرار رکھنے کے واسطے بنا ہے, تو خدا را یہ اس کی ذمہ داری بنتی ہے. تو شمائلہ کا جو پہلا سوال تھا وہ میں نے آپ کو پڑھ کے سنایا. اب میں ان کے دوسرے سوال کی طرف آتا ہوں. وہ پوچھتی ہیں کہ is it true that our current way of education serves more to produce workers than thinkers? ارے بھائی, کوئی ورکر بھی ٹھیک اس طرح سے بنے نا اس تعلیم سے تو بہت بڑی غنیمت ہے. آپ ذرا دیکھ لیجئے کہ جو مشرق وسطی میں, عرب میں, جس طرح کے کام ہم پاکستانیوں کو دیے جاتے ہیں, سڑکیں کھودنا, مزدوری کرنا, کلرکی کرنا, اور دوسری طرف انڈینز کو پروفیشنل انجینئرز کے طور پہ رکھا جاتا ہے. دنیا جہاں سے وہاں اور پروفیشنلز لوگ آتے ہیں جن کی بڑی بڑی تنخواہیں ہوتی ہیں اور جن کا درجہ ہی اور ہوتا. تو ہاں, میں مانتا ہوں کہ کچھ اچھے ادارے ہیں پاکستان میں, 5-6 اچھی یونیورسٹیاں ہوں گی, اس سے زیادہ نہیں, اور کچھ میڈیکل کالجز ہیں. ان میڈیکل کالجز سے پھر یہاں باہر چلے آسٹریلیا اور امریکہ میں جو پاکستانی وہ تو ڈاکٹر ہیں. تو اچھی بات ہے, بہت اچھی بات ہے. کاش کے اور زیادہ ڈاکٹر ہوتے, کاش کے زیادہ انجینئر ہوتے وغیرہ, اور سائنسدان تو خیر ناپید ہیں, ہوتے ہی نہیں ہیں ہمارے ہاں سے. لیکن اب وہ جو ڈاکٹر ہیں امریکہ میں, وہ علاج معالجے کے لیے تو بہت ان کی طلب ہے, لیکن وہ کوئی नई दवाएं, नए तरीके, नए प्रोसीडियर्स दरियाफ्त नहीं करते, ईजाद नहीं करते. They practice medicine, they don't invent new techniques. तो हाँ, जो इनका सवाल था कि do we produce workers rather than thinkers? Yeah, but we don't even produce enough workers. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ी खराबी, इसको हमें किसी तरह से दूर करना होगा. अच्छा, अब बहुत से सवाल हैं, लेकिन उनका एक तीसरा सवाल है कि what in your opinion would emerge if your concept of a transparent central repository gets successfully implemented? यानी कि फर्ज कीजिए कि कोई ऐसा जखीरा बनता है जहां सारे टीचर्स का मवाद जो है, उन जो कुछ वो पढ़ाते हैं वो एक जगह पे रखा जाता है और जहां हर कोई जाकर पहुंच सकता है. अगर ऐसा हुआ तो इससे क्या नताइज बरामद होंगे, अंजाम इसका क्या होगा? अब देखिए, मैं नहीं समझता हूं कि इससे सारे मसले हल हो जाएंगे, मगर कम से कम ये तो पता चलेगा ना कि कौन टीचर कितने पानी में खड़ा है, कौन मेहनत कर रहा है, कौन नहीं कर रहा है, कौन समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, कौन सिर्फ तनख्वाह ले रहा है. तो इसीलिए मैं समझता हूं कि इस पर अमल दरामद जरा मुश्किल ही होगा. लेकिन अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो फिर आखिर हम क्या करेंगे? और बहुत सी बातें हैं, लेकिन मैं अपनी बात यहां पर खत्म करता हूं ताकि हमारी रूबरू गुफ्तगू हो सके. चलिए आगे चलते.
So that was part of the video of the questions that we've had, the kind of conversation you can expect. Without further ado, since a lot of you have been asking, I will invite Mr. Parvez Hudboy on live stream with us. It's really good to have you, sir. May I please have like a minute for introduction purposes? Can you listen to me?
I can hear you. I can hear you very well. Yes.
All right. I will just take a minute to introduce you. You've been an inspiration for many, even an inspiration for me. You are a nuclear physicist. You do not actually need any introduction because you are pretty much an all-rounded person who a lot of people are always asking for at T2F. We've had the honor of hosting so many sessions with you. And this is indeed another session of his. It is based on one of his articles, like I said before, that he posted in Dawn. We've had a conversation, you and I kind of got to know that you had a meeting later on after that, that article that you posted in Dawn as well. So we can start off from there, and we can start off from wherever you would like. The session is all yours.
Okay, so after I wrote that essay, there's a TV channel, TV, I don't watch TV myself, but anyway, Dr. Tariq Banoori, who's the chairman of the Higher Education Commission. And he and I had a 1-hour conversation, which I guess people can watch. And basically, Tariq Banoori agreed with what I had to say in the article. And he said, fine, yes, of course, there must be transparency. Yes, of course, we should be improving ourselves. And yes, of course, and yes, of course, and so forth. It was nice. It's always good to have people agreeing with you. The problem
It's always
is
good to have that, but what about the implementation? Yes.
Yeah, the problem is how are you going to implement it, given that teachers don't want to be, they don't want their teaching to come before anybody else. And so they do the maximum possible to hide what happens in the classroom. And now they're doing the maximum possible to hide what goes on the internet. So actually students, and I won't name any, and I won't even name the institution, but students are actually threatened by their teachers that जो assignments तुम्हें दिए जा रहे हैं वो किसी को नहीं दिखाने हैं, जो हम आपको दे रहे हैं ये आप किसी को नहीं, किसी और के साथ शेयर नहीं कर सकते. So it's not going to be easy. And look, the fact is that those people who have reached the very top of the educational ladder, the associate professors, the full professors, the distinguished professors, the meritorious professors. यार काम शाम उन्होंने कुछ भी नहीं किया है, उनमें से बहुत सारों ने कुछ भी नहीं किया है, जाली पेपर छापते हैं और बहुत बड़े फन्ने खान बने हुए हैं आजकल. So the problem is from that end. Tariq Banuri can say, yeah, I'll go and fix it. But then when that Professor Mafia comes along and says, how dare you ask how we teach in the classroom, that's when push will come to shove. So, chaliye, I'm sure whoever is listening on will either agree, disagree, will have questions. I'm happy to take whatever.
So I will then continue with the question that I asked before as well, that the idea that you proposed of a central repository for videos and all the material, if it becomes something like Netflix, which I said then as well, it would have a lot of people, a lot of professors, a lot of institutions creating this backlash against it. Because then students will also have the authority of seeing what works better for them, what is quality education that they can get, or the materials that they can utilize. It opens up a lot of opportunities for students themselves, but then what about the institutions who are so adamant and who are so bent on promoting or just providing benefits to the teachers or all of that? It's always
I don't quite understand what you say. Netflix is some what do? They sell movies or something?
So what happened on Netflix before, I will give a brief on that. So Netflix was also a type of central repository where they have videos, but then on the ratings of the videos, on the quality of the videos, or on how much they are actually, liked by the students, for example, or liked by the viewers, the videos are kept on. It's something that helps filter out good content that helps, content that benefits from the content that doesn't. So in case there's a central repository where they're all the professors are putting in their information, putting in their lectures, or putting in their notes, there will be quality control done by students, would not?
I'm not even asking for quality control. I think quality control is much too difficult, and it's beyond what the HEC can do or any monitoring body in Pakistan can do. I'm merely saying that every university, so whether it is LUMS or government college or FC college or Quaid-e-Azam University, should have a repository that is managed by the university itself, where every professor is required to put his or her teaching materials, and it should be freely accessible, not just to the students of that university, but anywhere by anyone. Okay. Now, the HEC should come along, and it should be the responsibility of the HEC to make sure that the universities adhere to that regimen. That's the only thing I'm saying. Because look, if you try and regulate the quality of Professor X or lecturer Y, you're not going to be able to do it. Let the students look at what each professor is teaching, and let that student decide. And then, of course, you see, the administration also gets to see, and the public gets to see what's being taught in the universities. And that's the way it should be. Because look, if you're being paid by the Azam University, that money is coming from the taxpayer, right?
Yeah.
And so the taxpayer has the right to all that information. So there's no copyright business involved over here.
It's education. It's something that can be distributed to everyone.
Absolutely.
I would like to bring in another article that you posted a while ago based on scientists and based on all the research that is being produced, and people here that want to pursue their separate fields but aren't given the agency to. You mentioned a story about a lad, a certain Mr. Amir, I suppose, in one of your Dawn articles. One of those articles is something that we can kind of fit in line here, because I believe that there is a strong disconnect between institutions and students in general because of their own structural problems that they face. But how can we start the conversation of these ideas, of these structures, of involving something new, giving students the platform to practice or explore something new rather than just repeat and recreate what has already been created.
Okay, look, you raised several different issues. First of all, students in this country don't have a voice, and they should have a voice. I think that unless we unless we actively encourage students to speak up in class, to make associations, student unions, for example, they used to exist 40 years ago, they don't now. We absolutely need to have more freedom for students. That's one thing. But the other thing on which regards academic quality, I don't believe that we can set quality standards in Pakistan because there are too many fields. There are insufficient number of people in each field who are capable of judging. And so we will have to use international standards if our education is to make any sense. So look, I teach physics and math. And physics and math is the same everywhere in the world, isn't it? 2 plus 2 is 4. You do calculus in the same way everywhere. So why don't we use the best teaching materials available in the world and adapt them for use in Pakistan? Now, here's a very specific suggestion. You know, there are these terrific repositories. There's Coursera, there's edX, there's MIT OCW. Some of it is free, some of it is not free. Now, what if our future teachers, suppose somebody is to be hired by LUMS or Habib or Quaid-e-Azam University or whatever. Suppose the requirement is that you first pass the course from one of these good places, and then you teach that course using the same material. Of course, you can supplement it, but unless you've mastered that material yourself, you're not going to be allowed to teach it. So that's a suggestion to use what's out there in the world. And what's out there in the world, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's how I think the future of education in Pakistan should go. And of course, I insist that what we need is freedom of thought, freedom of action, and both are in short supply.
Yes, you talk about freedom of thought and freedom of action. I see that is very much in line with the thought of having an online virtual education system. Because if this is integrated even after COVID-19 has passed and things go back to kind of normal situations, having a virtual learning experience as well can also be integrated into our existing educational institutions to grow them or to probably help them in better learning and better outputs, I guess. But then again, all of these courses that you mentioned, Coursera and everything else, they strive to cater to a certain mass, a certain number of audience and a certain number of people. How can we actually bring them in the institutions themselves, apart from just the professors? What about the students?
Look, a student today can just go and access any of these courses, but he or she will not do that unless there's motivation to do that. Now, suppose you are in University X in Pakistan, and you are told that your degree requirement will include your being able to pass these courses from Coursera, from edX, from MIT, OCW, whatever, and a certain number, I'm not saying all of them, but a certain number in certain subjects, the amount by which this could raise educational standards in Pakistan is phenomenal. It could just change our educational scenario. And if we can persuade our teachers to do that, and look, the only way you can persuade your teachers is to say that if you don't do it, you don't get paid, or you don't get your increment, or you don't get your promotion, or something like that. So now it's up to the administrators. And look, Tariq Banuri agrees. He agrees. But then will he be able to do it? As I said, that's the real issue.
You're absolutely right. I'm trying to see all of the comments as well and entertaining questions. By this point, I would like to ask all of the viewers to raise their questions if they have any, so that I can ask you as well. Would you like to kind of further expand on the subject itself, or provide some insight on how feasible it is right now currently, given that in the COVID-19 situation, there are different priorities based by the government. Some of them are on the provisions of food, provisions of ration, provisions of economic welfare, and handling markets. I haven't yet seen much to do with the virtual learning and virtual learning experience going online. I see people discussing it in different forums, but I don't know how much is being actually talked about. So if you could share a little bit of insight, or
Well, look, education has always been the lowest priority. Just consider the fact that just before this COVID nonsense hit us, the college where I teach was closed for 2 weeks because of a cricket match. And the cricket match was in Rapi Stadium, far away, but they needed the parking space. So they just took over the university. Now, education is the lowest priority in Pakistan. And it's been the way we expect any big change in that. How is it going to change? I don't know, but let me say that for individuals. So, for example, the students who are listening on, right, out there, which they can benefit from. So I've seen such bright students, such brilliant minds who have gone and explored the internet and just taken the advantage that they should of it. And I like one student learned quantum mechanics. Great, I love that.
Absolutely right. We have questions pouring in, so I would like to probably take the last course of this session towards the questions. I'll ask the first question here. It's on quality and quantity of education. So, how can we emphasize more on the quality and not the quantity of education? I believe that has been answered before, but if you could just summarize it in a bit, so that we can move on for the.
So what I say is international standards, not our national standards. That, in a nutshell, is the key to progress. Next
Great.
question.
Next question we have is that how can Pakistan improve the quality of education? That has been answered. What about the curriculum that is being taught in the Sindh board and currently doesn't even stand in the iota of the foreign education standard? So
they should close down. They should close down the education department. It's I've seen the textbooks that they produce. They should be. I don't believe in burning books. It's not ecologically friendly. But they should get rid of those books. Because you read them and you start hating science, you start hating learning itself. So what should be done is to use the best books available internationally, translate them into Urdu, adapt them into Urdu if necessary, or use them as they are in O&A levels schools. Some of that has been done, but this textbook mafia has to be frontally confronted now. And okay, Sindh is probably the worst example of the education mafia that exists. I was a part of the of the advisory board, and they finally kicked me out because I said, "Look, you can't teach this. This is not education. This is nonsense." And so they stopped inviting me.
That's a little bit harsh, I believe. Well, I hope it changes for the better. I hope people take this into account. People start translating a bit more, revising textbooks as well. Apart from that, there's another question. It has been asked here. Wait, let me just scroll it up. Why is Balochistan always left out, even in discourses concerning education?
Well, Balochistan has been the most deprived and the province of Pakistan to which the least attention has been paid. All that the rest of Pakistan cares about is that sui gas is there, the minerals are there, and so the attention actually paid to the Baloch has been very minimal. This includes education itself. So it's no wonder that the Baloch are angry with the center, and you're not even allowed to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, should we take a few more questions? I believe there are still. All right. So there's another question saying that what can aspiring physicists do to escape the scientific desert of Pakistan?
Oh, you can do a lot. You can, as I was saying, these online courses are marvelous. I've seen a 14-year-old pick up quantum mechanics on his own. I've seen people, they're very talented, of course, but they go here, there, and they learn on their own. So once upon a time, there used to be an excuse that there's no teacher. Now you don't need teachers. So the world is yours. Go explore it and don't cry. Do something about it. And you can do something about it. And I'll tell you one thing, that, okay, people will say, why should I do it? I'll give you a very practical reason, and that's if you want to get into a good university and you say that you've done these courses, it will really, really help.
I believe there's another question with a shared history in our comments section of a person who's 17 and he has immense interest in astrophysics. He says that my question is that is there any chance of getting planetariums or any science platforms or public or private platforms to happen in the city, and where public and students can meet and look up to carve and execute their interests in science?
Yes, I think our societies, they're not very big, but see, I'm not into social media, but I know that these groups exist where people get excited about discoveries about planets, exoplanets, and starbursts and gravitational waves and all that. So go join them. I don't know where they are, but yes. And there's also something called the Burak Planetary Society or something like that. The Burak Society, yeah. They have an event once a year. They're a good bunch of people, so contact them as well.
All right. So there's a student from your class, I guess, from Virtual University. He says that they have recorded sessions for the last 2 decades or supposedly the last 2 decades and no upgrades. He wants to know how people can counter this and have upgraded curriculums and upgraded modules, I believe.
Oh, if he's, by the way, it's not my university. The Virtual University is something I did some programs for, I think back in 2004 or 2003. So that's 16, 17 years ago. And it was basic physics, and basic physics hasn't changed. So those programs are still okay. But of course, there are, those were in Urdu, and so it was, but they're far better programs than the ones that I've made. So go and, if you want to learn some good physics, go to Walter Lewin. Meri billi aa gayi idhar. Yes. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, there are lots of good programs all over the world. Go use them.
Great. There are a few questions about physics again. People asking how we can have more people like Dr. Abdus Salam and all of those people coming or sprouting up from Pakistan.
That's a no-brainer. Abdus Salams, when you value learning. If your roads are named after generals and shaheeds, and there's no intellectual worthy the name who's valued in this country, then of course you're not going to have salams. And You'll have to get over religious prejudice. The whole world celebrates Islam. We don't even dare to mention him. And what we've done with Salam is a disgrace. So the obvious answer is you'll have to have a free.
Value.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it. Most of the questions are either people who are inspired by you or inspired by your work, or people asking the same question about learning and virtual learning. I will tag the article that you've written in the description below again for them to revisit for their reference. Any concluding words? Since we're at 8:32, I wanted to ask.
Yeah, well, I guess when the COVID nonsense ends, then I'll come back to P2F. Sometimes I come to Karachi and I'll be happy to meet with people. It's always better to be talking to people personally and instead of virtually. So although I'm very much in favor of virtual education, yet there's no substitute for person-to-person contact.
That is indeed true. All of us are sitting at home, staring at screens and meeting people virtually. We all kind of miss everyone and miss the physical interaction element as well. Thank you so much for this session, and thank you so much for your time. I hope this was as much of a good experience for you as it was for us having you here with us. That's about it on my end. I guess that's it. That's all I had to say.
Thanks a lot.
If you allow.
Thanks a lot and goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye, sir. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining us in our session. I would just, close up your screen so that it's fine. Yes. Thank you all for joining us. Please stay tuned with us. We will have more live sessions like these where we invite different guests on board. And now that we are learning how to use StreamYard, we'll get more people on board with us. Thank you so much. I will tag the link in the video down below. For those of you who want to know what the conversation was about or where you can find the article that we are talking about. As far as the video is concerned that we showed in the first half of the video, that video will also be posted later on as a supplementary element to our conversation. Thank you so much and goodbye. Have fun. Stay safe.